So we've been playing Transatlantic by Mac Gerdts, and Gary and I are going to talk about the game for a little while, explain it. The theme of the game is transatlantic liners ploughing across to America and back to Britain. And as a theme, this is a theme that we did look at with the Ragnar Brothers at one point, and in much the same way, we just take the whole thing of individual liners and their qualities and how things improve from one ship to another over the period of 50 years, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it was. And it's just a really good mechanic, a really good thing to base the game on. And that Mac has taken that, and that whatever else you think about this game, you've got to realise that that is the driving force. I think he has a real passion for it, and the little booklet he's got with the game here describes every single one of these ships. And I believe the artwork is all for the ships is all original artwork and pictures taken from the period. So huge investment in making this a real themed game. I think that's terrific. That said, the Ragnar game would definitely have had a map. This game doesn't have a map and doesn't need one. So that's the way it goes. We had one problem with the artwork, was that we really did struggle with the black and the dark green and the dark blue cards from a distance and the evening slot, and we've got some good lighting here. It was pretty hard for our tired old eyes, I must say. But once we got over that, we did enjoy, I think, the whole setup of the game, and it's nicely done. So terrific. So that's the sort of general overview of the theme. Gary's going to talk about some specific mechanics now, particularly going to ask him to say about what the mechanics are and then how you win the game.
Hello. Well, as Steve said, I'm going to talk about the mechanics, and some people have compared it to Concordia. The only similarity with Concordia is the action cards. Everybody's got the same deck of action cards, and it's a question of when you use a particular action card depending on what your situation is in the game. That's the only similarity with Concordia. It's a totally different game. Masses of ways to win the game, which Steve will talk a bit about later. One of the driving engines is the evolution of the ships. So they start off with sail ships, and they go into steam, and then right at the end you start to get warehouses, trading warehouses, which are quite expensive in terms of the game. The ships allow you to come into a particular ocean, area of trading and voyages, and that's how you score points and generate money. Without money, you won't be able to buy more ships, so you can't ignore generating trade, and so you can't allow steamships, for instance, to go without coal. There are cards that allow you to put coal on, but it's a question of you making choices to be the most efficient, and that's a similarity, I suppose, with Concordia. You've got to be efficient in the game. So this will generate money, allow you to buy more cards, ships, get them on. Ships will move off as they get new ships supersede them. They go out of the game, but you will get a chance to score them as they come off. You'll get a chance to trade with them if they've got coal, if they're steamships. You'll get victory points if you've got trading houses in that area. And you'll also score victory points determined by how how far you've gone down these commodity tracks. So being shoved off the board isn't as bad as it might seem. You get a chance to generate some money. But one of the nice things is if I were to buy this ship here, this ship is going to come down into the dry dock area, and so you get the different coloured cards accumulating. But Steve might have wanted to buy that, but he's not going to get the chance, because one of my actions is to buy that. That's going to go off. I'll get this and place it on, and then these will all shift down. New ones will come on the end, and that's quite a nice, frustrating part of the game, that if you know that somebody is sort of accumulating those sorts of colour ships on the board, because the more you've got of a certain sort, the more points you'll score. By playing an action where you can buy a ship to get rid of that ship, it feels quite good, actually. There's a bit of screwage in the game, and lots of ways to enhance your cards. There's an array, A and B deck, as the game goes on. You can get super types of these ships would give you a bit more advantage. So you can enhance your action deck. One of the principal ways to score points is by accumulating commodities. Certain cards will allow you to purchase commodities. And so gradually you'll fill this up. And the further down they go, the more points you'll score at the end. There's quite a complicated mechanism for scoring, which the first time you play it might confuse you a little bit, but it's worth reading the rules through a couple of times. But you can score big points through this because you'll get a multiplier with the number of cards you've got on the board at the end. And that can score 40 points or more, perhaps, depending on your particular situation. And, for me, very enjoyable game. So back over to Steve.
Okay, so I just want to say a few things about how one might go about trying to win this game, and I think that hopefully gives you some more ideas about the sort of game it is and how it works. It's a linear game in that what you're doing at the beginning is pretty much the same as you'll be doing at the end of the game. As the game progresses, you will look to develop your position on the oceans with the different ships, and you will look to maybe build these trading houses to keep your points coming in from there. You look to make sure you keep getting a good flow of money going. So you've got to work that all the time, all the way through. As Gary said, it's an efficiency game. You've got to be at the right time to buy. So you want to have some money at the right time when it's a ship you want to do, so you can get back on those boards. But I think what I enjoyed about it was that although it is that, it also plays to the theme very well. That at the end of the game, you really want to kept your ships in those oceans as long as possible, because the really key big scoring things come right at the end, because the more commodities you have on here, the more each ship will score as a result. So if you are unlucky enough or don't play it so well that your ships are kind of being shoved off the board all the time, you will score as they come off, but you won't get as many points. If you can keep 5-6 ships on that board in, say, a 2-player game, maybe 7-8 ships on the board as opposed to your opponent, then you've every chance of scoring really well here and scoring more for the points for the ships in the docks. So you've got to kind of hold the game tight and not let yourself get washed away, really, as the game progresses. I think that's good, and I think it's challenging in that respect. I think it's one of those things, it's helpful if you can keep that kind of overview in your head, because otherwise it's a bit flashing lights in the sense that you think, oh, I'm getting some points for this, or I'm getting some points for that. But really, in a sense, as long as you can keep your cash flow going, you really want to just keep things on the board as long as possible and look what other people are doing in that respect.
You're sort of building towards an end game, really, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. And trying to make sure you've got enough money at the end to make the big purchases, because if you've sold out, you've bought everything early, and you get to the last turn, you can't buy 1 or 2 more things, that's a lot of points going down the Swanee at the end of the game. So yeah, I think it's a game we're certainly going to play several more times. We don't play games a huge number of times, as you know, but we've enjoyed it the couple of times we've had a go at it. We think we've got the hang of it now, which is nice, and no doubt we'll introduce some people to the game who've not played it, and we'll give them a damn good thrashing, no doubt. Anyway, that's it for What's Not to Like on Transatlantic. Thank you very much.